What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we are taking a look at a game called Vendarla. So stick around. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe for more content and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Vendarla is an upcoming Kickstarter from More Games slated for the last half towards the end of October. It is for 2 to 5 players. It takes between 15 and 30 minutes to play, and it is for ages 10 and up. In this game, Queen Elna, the last of the royal family, has hired you and your opponents to enter into the ancient mountain city of Vendarla in order to grab materials to bring back and craft some royal guard items and some armory pieces for Her Majesty's armory. This won't be easy, though, because you will be trying to avoid cobalt thieves and warriors, as well as awakening dragons. Once endgame is triggered, the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins. But is it good? Well, if you'll join us on the table, we'll check it out. Okay, so one thing to note real quick is that this is a prototype copy. It's very well put together, but I know that there are a few things for sure that are going to be changing. For instance, the coins. So the way that the prototype came is that there's just one type of coin to indicate one coin. However, I believe in the final version of the game, there'll be a 1, a 3, and a 5 coin to keep better track of and keep organized your coins that you have in the game. Then we have a couple stacks of cards. We have our Queen's Armory cards. These are the armory items that you're going to try to be creating to give you victory points. There are 2 different kinds. There are normal and then Royal Guard items. Royal Guard items have the shield symbol on them. Normal items do not. Royal Guard items are worth more victory point wise. This one's worth 50, whereas this one's worth 25. They're also a little more difficult to make. And once one player at the table has gotten 3 Royal Guard items, that triggers endgame. That's one of the ways to trigger the end of the game. So just keep that in mind. Then we have our market cards. There's, I believe, 4 different types of market cards. So we have Cobalt Repellent, Dragon Charms, Backpacks, and Iron Sides. And then we have our rulebook, of course. We have some reference cards, double-sided. It goes through all of the different materials that are in the mountain deck on one side, and then just some quick reference stuff on the other side. We have our first player token, which is this cool dragon. Actually, not first player. I apologize. This is actually the round leaders icon here. And then we have our mountain deck. It is massive. Inside this deck, we have dragon cards. We have materials that we're going to use to make our Queen's Armory cards. We also have Cobalt Warriors, more dragons, more warriors. There are Cobalt Thieves, and there are also gold coins. So that's everything that was included in my prototype, and let me set up for a game, and I'll show you guys how it plays. Alright, so here I've set up for a 3-player game. There is a 2-player variant, so the rules will change slightly with 2 players, but for the most part it's the same for all the player counts. When you are setting up, you're going to set up your market. Like I said, there's 4 market cards. Each player can have a maximum of 4 market cards and only 1 backpack. So that 1 backpack does count towards your 4, but you can have multiple dragon charms, repellents, iron sides, etc. Each player is going to start the game by being given 3 of the Queen's Armory cards, and they're going to pick 2 that they want to keep, and then the third one will go underneath the deck, and then the deck is placed up here. Then each player gets 5 gold coins, and then one player will be the round leader. This will change every turn, rotating. So on your turn, you have 2 choices. Very easy action economy. You can either enter the market. When you enter the market, you can only enter the market as the round leader, and he or she is the only one that can go to the market. When inside the market, you have a couple of different options. You can sell any materials that you have to the market. When you sell items to the market, you can use the money to then purchase other items that have been sold before, plus the items in the market, or you can just take gold coins from the supply. There's no limit to the amount of gold coins that you can have, no maximum. So when you sell stuff, just keep in mind that other players will be able to come back and buy the things that you sell. The other action that you can take, besides going to the market, is to enter the mountain. That's where you're going to probably be spending the majority of your game. When you enter the mountain, you enter as a group. The round leader will take the mountain deck, the massive deck, and they start to flip cards over. The round leader will continue drawing cards and laying them out until one of 3 conditions have been met. The first condition being that they just choose to stop. So we could start drawing cards, and then if we chose to stop on, say this Cobalt Warrior here, we could just stop if we wanted to. The second condition is if 10 cards have been drawn. So if you can keep drawing without, getting lucky, not drawing a dragon or drawing multiple kobolds, you could draw up to a total of 10. So 10 is the max. That's one way. Stopping as the leader, that's another way. And then the third way is to either awaken a dragon that you cannot charm back to sleep, or 2 Cobalt Warriors that you cannot fend off with Repellent or with Iron Sides. And we'll talk about how those work in just a minute. So as the first player, we would start drawing, and this Cobalt Warrior could, at this time, be repelled or fought off by an Iron Side by any player at the table. So there's a little bit of co-op in there. There's going to be times in the game where it would benefit you to ward off enemies, even if it's not your turn. And then there's some times where you may just want to let it sit and have have the round leader suffer. So you would continue to do this until 2 warriors or a dragon, or you decided to stop. When a Cobalt Thief is drawn, the player with the most coins loses 50% of their coins, and then there's an extra little something at the bottom that also happens dependent on which thief you draw. In this case, whoever has the least amount of Iron Sides in their party, they lose 1 gold coin. As the round leader, once they've stopped, they can choose any item that they have drawn and collect it for themselves. So, for example, I'd want to take this dragon iron here. And the other players then get the opportunity of taking something as well by paying the round leader a finder's fee of 1 gold coin. So let's say this guy over here really wants this iron. This guy passes, so he would take the iron and he would pay the party leader one gold coin. Of course, the thief would have taken stuff away and things like that as well. But and then the round is over with. These guys would get discarded into the discard pile, and then the next player would go. They would get this. They would become the round leader, and then it's their turn. They're either going to enter the market to buy stuff, or they are going to go to the mountain to start drawing cards. So now that we know how entering the mountain and the market works, let's talk about these actual items up here, because they are special items. So the easiest one to explain is the backpack. So if you have a backpack, you can only have one, remember. If you have a backpack, when you are in the mountain, you can take 2 items as opposed to just 1. So it's very, very powerful. However, keep in mind that you can only hold 6 materials at a time. So like right now, I already have 1, so I'd only be able to have 5 more. Also, I'm trying to build these, items. So I'm trying to kind of balance out. I can only have 4 of these. I can only have 6 of these. I can only ever have 2 unbuilt pieces of gear. So I'm managing all of that. But that's what the backpack does. It allows you to take 2 cards, 2 material cards, while you are up in the mountain. The cobalt repellent can be played on your turn or on someone else's turn, again, to ward off a cobalt. And you simply play it by putting it back in the market, and it fends off any warriors and or thieves. So you have to make that decision if you want to play that on your turn or, again, on your opponent's turn. The iron sides are similar to the cobalt repellent. However, they only work for warriors. Now, there's 2 different kinds of warriors. There are warriors with 1 shield at the bottom, like this guy here. And then there are warriors with 2 shields at the bottom, if I can find one. I think this one was one. So 2 shields at the bottom. If you draw a cobalt warrior with 2 shields and you choose to use an iron side to fend them off, your 2 axes beats their 2 shields, and both of these are discarded. That goes back to the items, and this goes into the discard pile. However, if you draw a cobalt warrior with 1 shield, and your iron side has 2 axes, all the iron sides have 2 axes, you defeat the cobalt warrior, but you actually get to keep your iron side. So that's how the iron side for the cobalt warriors interact. The iron side does not fend off the cobalt thief. Only the repellent does that. And then finally, you have the dragon's charm. The dragon charm is exactly what it sounds like. When a dragon is drawn, the round is immediately over unless you or someone else decides to put that dragon back to sleep. If at any time the round ends because of cobalt warriors or dragons, anything that has been drawn up till that point is discarded. You will not get a chance to take an item. So that's why these items from the market are very important. If a dragon charm is not used to put the dragon to sleep, the party leader, whoever drew that card, must then take that dragon. And that dragon is worth minus 10 victory points at the end of the game. Again, however, you don't get to take anything. So, let's say, for example, this dragon was drawn not on my turn and I had a charm, but there was items out that I really wanted. It might behoove me to put that dragon to sleep so that I can get an item. However, I may just want my opponent to suffer and get the minus 10 because I may not want anything that's on the table. So that's how dragons, these things work, cobalt warriors, cobalt thieves. But what is the point of the game, Louis? Well, the point of the game is to create as many of these as you can. And you do that by collecting items from the mountain. So, for example, this mithril breastplate requires these 3 items, which if I look on my cheat sheet here, that is 1 mithril, 1 steel, and 1 of any other metal or gem. So that's what I need to discard in order to create this breastplate. And again, it's worth mega victory points at the end, 40, and it counts as a Royal Guard item, so it will count towards me trying to trigger the end game. Remember, the first player to get 3 Royal Guard items triggers the end game, and we go through one more round, and then whoever has the most victory points wins. The second way to trigger end game, other than the 3 Royal Guard items, are dragons. So if at any time the maximum amount of dragons are drawn and not dealt with via a dragon charm, then the end game comes immediately. the game just ends and you count up the victory points. The maximum amount of dragons for that to trigger is +1 the amount of players that you have. So in a 3-player game, that would be 4 dragons. So if there are 4 dragons currently with players, because they weren't dealt with the dragon charm, then that is what will trigger the end game. So 2 different ways of triggering the end game. You definitely need to watch the dragons. You don't want them to pop up until you know that you have enough victory points to win. Victory points are counted by the items down in the bottom, plus the coins that you have, and any materials that you did not sell or use to build items. So the player with the most victory points wins, and then if there's a tie, there's a series of steps that you look at. Player with the most coins, player with the most items, etc. But that's how you play the Vendarla. There are, like I said, there's a couple variants. There's a 2-player variant, which changes things up a little bit, not a lot. There's also a bidding variant, which is very interesting, where instead of just taking an item from the mountain, you actually have to bid on them and spend your gold coins in order to take them, which is a really interesting concept as well. I like this way the best, but the bidding thing is kind of cool, and definitely something that I'll explore more into the future. But the action economy is really simple. You either go to the market or you go to the mountain. You draw until one of those conditions are met that we talked about. You take items, use items to build these armor pieces here, and then the player with the most victory points wins. And that, guys, is everything that you need to know in order to play Vendarla. Vendarla has a really easy action economy, very simple rule set. The game plays really quickly, fast setup, fast gameplay. I really like that. It has a lot of press your luck elements by pushing yourself further into the mountain. It also has a lot of resource management, obviously. So those are the types of crowds that it really tries to attract. Because it's so simple, it's also a really good gateway game. It's definitely the type of game that's very easy to take to family game nights and to friends' house that don't normally play deep strategy games, and get them hooked into resource management games and push your luck games and stuff like that. Like I said, the coins are definitely not the final version because I've seen images of the 1, 3, and 5. I personally would like to see some gold coins. That might be kind of cool. I know that in the Kickstarter they are going to be using stretch goals to upgrade the quality of the items and the quality of the components for the game. And I believe that there are even some max stretch goals that add more of the Queen's Armory cards. Because there are currently in the game, I believe, 29 Queen's Armory cards, and as you saw, the mountain deck is ginormous. You're going to get a different experience every time. There's a lot of replayability, and every time that you play, you're going to draw different cards, you're going to see different things, and that's what's going to keep you coming back for more. As always, I will leave links to everything in the description below. Make sure that you go and check out this Kickstarter for more games towards the end of October, and show them some love.